Welcome to the Common Humanity podcast. Where we are here to have real human conversations. It has been a hot minute since I have done this, so we're winging it a little bit, more so than usual. But today, our guest is a wonderful woman named Leanda, who I met about a month ago now. And she has just
That's
uh,
crazy.
lit my soul on fire. Anyway, um, so Leanda, I'm gonna let you take it away from here. And my first question for you is, who are you?
My name is Leanda, and I am the most common of all humans.
I love you.
The most commonest of all of them. Um, I just turned 58 a couple weeks ago, so I'm old-ish. I'm old enough to know better. I'm old enough to remember some icky stuff and stuff that, other people thought were fine. And old enough to uh, see the things that bother the young people now. But I am still young enough to not listen to my mom or pretty much anybody else. And I kind of do what I want. So that's kind of why I met you.
This
Because that's really crazy that it's been a month. It really, wow, in Greece.
Greece, yes.
Amazing was that. That was a pretty extraordinary experience for me. I hadn't experienced anything like those powerlifters, but yeah, I would love to say that I had a clear path since childhood. I would love to say that I, had this perfect family life, and then I went to school and graduated, went to college, found the love of my life, and got married and had this wonderful family. Sometimes I say it, but it's not the truth. But I will say that when I do finally pass, I have a million stories, and hopefully, I have been part of a lot of stories that belong to other people.
Oh, I love that.
And um, that continue to be shared. I don't really care if I'm famous the way a lot of people consider fame, but I do believe, for me anyway, that it would be very, very special to me if there were a lot of people who were somehow touched, uh, or at least entertained by encountering me in their lives. So that's pretty much who I am.
I mean, I think both of those things are sort of a given in the time that I've known you, being both touched and entertained. So,
Yeah.
so you say you want to be part of other people's stories. What is one of your favorite stories?
Oh my gosh, there are so many. There are so many. Um, a very quick one. Um, I used to be almost 300 pounds, and um, my one child, he told me that I should exercise more and suggested I go to CrossFit, which I didn't know what that was. And I looked it up and immediately thought all these people are on steroids because no one looks like that. Like normal people don't look like that. And they were all liars because who does the thing that those people say they do? But I went at his urging, and um, I lost a lot of weight and I was so enamored with the culture. I would support pretty much everyone at every level when they would go and do like local competitions all the way up to the CrossFit Games. But I I think that I became so positive, so loving of life that I loved my life. I loved who I was, not just what I looked like or what I could do. I just really loved my life that I started loving the lives of other people and loving other people, that I could immediately see the positives, the things that would stand out to me about the people. And there was this one woman, her name's Emily, and I met her for the first time, and I went up to her for no reason. And she was so kind to me because who was I? I was nobody, you know. And she was one of those built just incredibly strong and capable women. And I said, I see you and you are so incredibly strong and capable, but I want you to know that, um, God's put you on a path, like something really amazing. You're actually going to put these talents, these fitness talents to something pretty incredible. I can just tell. I'm like so excited about it. And she kind of looked at me like I was such a weirdo. Like, oh, you cute little puppy, puppy little CrossFit girl. And but over the course of a couple years, they started the grid, which is the team CrossFit kind
Okay.
of. And she got picked up for the LA Ring. And it was really funny because there are so many there are so many stories like that where I see certain things in certain people, certain talents, and I will tell them so. I feel compelled to tell them so. And then, I get put in the opportunity of saying, I told you so. I told you so. Look, I told you so. Don't doubt yourself. No matter what's going on, no matter all these things, don't doubt yourself. And there have been people who have come back to me and said, oh my gosh, I always remembered that you said that. Or, or even, um, I used to help with the CrossFit West Regional.
Mhm.
Um, and I was, again, that crazy woman that was so, I love CrossFit so much at the time. But I would show up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, and when the athletes would, drag in, I'd be like, "Aloha, everybody! Good morning! You're going to have an amazing day." And I started becoming that, the Aloha lady. Um, so it can be small things like that, or um, I worked with a young man, um, I think approaching his 30s, and he had a very hard childhood. And um, for different reasons, some people are forced to take different paths. And so it was very unconventional from what other people in their 20s had opportunities to choose. He wasn't able to go to college and stuff. And so people treated him in a way that, oh, no, this person is just rough and tumble. This person, oh, we're not going to trust him. He's got, hair a certain way, or tattoos, or, earrings, or something like that. Um, but he was having some money issues with an automobile, and I helped him out. And he kind of kept looking over his shoulder like, oh, what's this about? What does she want?
Yeah.
When's she gonna ask for hers? And then one day, he actually started opening up and trusting and being kind. And he had opened up to me in a conversation and had told me something. And the office had been talking about um, like this little party or something about something that this individual didn't know about. Well, he walked into the room, everybody stopped talking, and then someone made a joke. Um, and it wasn't a big deal for those who understood the context of what we were talking about,
Mhm.
which this individual did not. And he assumed that I had broken his confidence, that I perhaps had shared the secret that he had shared with me, and that people were making fun of him. He was so angry. He was so upset. He stomped out of the office. And I was trying very hard to say, we had come so far.
Hmm.
I was trying to say, hey, talk to me. What's going on? What's wrong? And he had just fallen right back into that absolute closed off person and kind of um, where now I'm going to puff myself up and I'm going to be this very stoic person
Hmm.
that people are afraid of. Um, I kept, calling. I kept on, and um, sooner or later, he answered, and um, I, was like, "I'm sorry, I don't understand what's going on." And he finally told me, he said, I opened up to you, I trusted you, and you said these things. And I said, oh my gosh, you know what? That did not happen. Um, we were talking about this other thing. I can completely understand why you reacted the way you did, why you believed what you did, because a lot of people can be cruel that way. Um, and he said, well, you know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I acted the way I did. And my response was, you don't have to be sorry to me because I hurt your feeling. Whether I did it intentionally or not, like, you don't be sorry. Like, if you slashed my tires, you could be sorry for that, but you didn't do that. You were upset. You stomped off. You were hurt. You were angry. And you had to go through all of those feelings because I did something unintentionally. But because those things happen that way, because our interaction was one of love and trust, and this person isn't related to me.
Hmm.
Um, we don't spend weekends together. We're not that kind. That he was a young man who worked in the office with me, and then he worked someplace else. For the last couple of years. Um, but because we had that interaction, because he understood that, yeah, he can get a fair shot and that he is worthy of love and he is worthy of standing up for himself without having to act in his former self. When he met this amazing young lady, um, he's been in a long term relationship for several years now, and they have the cutest kid that is just amazing. And I do keep in touch with them. They are so wonderful to keep in touch with me because they know I don't have any grandchildren. So I live vicariously through them. But, you know, that's what I mean by being part of someone's story. Like,
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be I saved your life, when you were choking on a piece of chicken at Chick-fil-A. You know, it's, I was kind to you, maybe at a time when you really needed it. I, perhaps I saw something in you and told you so you didn't quit, um, writing or lifting or what building. Um, and, that turned into whatever, God has prepared for you, in your life. Um, and even if they don't even remember my name, I just think for them to look back and be like, oh my God, there was this crazy woman. She was so nuts. But every time she showed up, you know, it was a really great feeling. She always made me feel good.
Yeah.
Or I do know a couple people who are like, you are so irritatingly positive, annoyingly positive. Um, but they remember me,
Yeah.
and 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 I know that they don't mean anything really bad by it, um, because I guess that's what I need.
Yeah.
Be part of people's stories. Like you're part of mine. Like who knew?
We
Like
didn't. That's the beauty of it. We didn't. There was no knowing. It was just being.
that you're a good person. But that's what I mean. I want to be what you were to me. Um, it's just uh happenstance. We crossed each other's paths, and you're just a good person. And I want to be a good person who says, "Oh, you're here. This is your first time. I've done this before. Just it's okay, and I'm going to encourage you like the way you encourage me. Like it's okay. You're getting nervous. You're positive, but you're super nervous. Don't be nervous. Like I know you're going to be, but I'm here for you. I'm cheering you on. You're not by yourself. You're not doing this by yourself." And I would like to think that I was doing that for you as well,
Were indeed.
you know, but um yeah, we all have amazing stories.
I agree. And I think, I mean, um, to me, it's sort of the tapestry that is humanity, is we sort of interweave into each other's stories. I'm a very big believer in the butterfly effect and the idea that the tiny little things you do for people are what make a very large impact on the world. It might not be an impact that you get to see, but it 100% impacts the world. Um, and I agree with you, kindness goes a long way.
Yeah,
If we were all just a little bit more kind, I think the world would be a much kinder place to more people.
yeah.
Um, there was, oh man, I was like holding my fingers up to try to remember things. Um, the one I do remember, I had a saying in college when I was sort of a Debbie Downer, and not the, I wouldn't say the most positive person. Um, But either way, I had positive people around me and with no like shade towards them. I had a saying that was um like you're so positive. I feel like I'm puking daisies because I was like this is gross but like beautiful at the same time. Um because it wasn't something that I was accustomed to, and I think again that's where kindness comes in because there are far too many people who aren't raised in kindness. And so when they encounter kindness as adults, they are very untrusting of it. Um,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, People. I think have been most suspicious of me in my life when I became who I am today, being so kind and positive. And, um, if I like your hair, I'm going to say that I like your hair. Or if I like your outfit, or if I think
Mhm.
you look particularly nice, I call across the street, to a stranger. My husband hates that. Um, Back in the day, I thought I had to be a badass. I had to look a certain way, walk a certain way. If I was more of a bitch, that made me cooler. So, like you said, your quote, these days, and probably in the last decade or so, when people say, "How are you?" I say, "Blessed and grateful." Grateful and blessed 24/7. Back in the day, my quote was, um, life is uh, just a whirling, swirling eddy of despair, swirling into the ever darkening abyss of a black hole.
You, you, you and my 14-year-old self would have gotten along so well.
Right? Like, and it was just, that was my response. Like, you know, this is reality. This is reality. It's not perfect. Things are, you know, XYZ. I don't understand why you want me to be happy about. Um, but even when I think of the quote unquote bad things,
Mhm.
um, like now I can't not smile about the things that I recognize as being amazing. Like I cannot be upset looking at you, Chandra, because when I look at you, I think about when we met. I think about, your kid brother. I think about the really great conversation that I had with your big brother, um, that we were talking about. I think about us talking about trying to meet up and the big baby that my husband was being. You know, I think about our conversations we've had, and oh my gosh, that amazing evening that you read to me, your the books, just like all the things, the things that one, oh my gosh, the you know shedding of your skin, that basilisk thing, like I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. So when I just see you, um, I can't not feel blessed and grateful to know you and to be happy about this moment talking to you. Um, and that's pretty awesome because there are moments like, um, there have been times in the last couple weeks, because since Greece, my health has kind of petered, and also competing at a
Yeah,
world level and powerlifting kind of takes it out of
a little bit.
you. But, um, my prognoses have not been great. I've my physical function and management or unmanagement of certain pain responses and things have gotten worse. And I know that sometime I have the little voice that argues with my now voice that is like, oh, I'm supposed to be grateful. Like, I'm grateful that I can't breathe. I'm grateful that I cough so much that I throw up all the time. I I'm supposed to be grateful that when I cough and throw up, it raises my blood pressure and I almost stroke out or I have a heart attack. I'm supposed to be thankful for all of these things that I can't do anymore. Um, but it doesn't last very long because someone like you or um, some people that I've never even met face to face that I've connected with online, they'll send me a meme or they'll send me something that triggers something in me that says, you have value. I was thinking about you today. Um, uh, I still have connections online with people that I met in Barcelona in 2018 when I tried to do my first world championship in Olympic weightlifting. And that's when my cancer had come back, you know? And people still remember me from that.
Hmm.
People still remember, oh, you said this thing. And I'm like, I know, I totally did. Or, hey, remember that time you went to competition and right before you got on the platform, you realized you forgot your shoes? Which is really funny because in Las Vegas, I did forget my deadlifting shoes. And one of the coaches, Megan, was like, yeah, I'm not letting you go out there with your squat shoes.
Well,
Yeah.
especially in a deadlift, that would be
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah.
So this question keeps popping up in my head. Do you distinguish between happy and joyful? Because I feel like sometimes, when your brain's not being the nicest or whatever, maybe sometimes you're not always happy, but I get the vibe from you that you have like an underlying joy.
Um, how do I put this? So, yes. So, yes, what you said. I think happy is like a thing that people want to be.
Okay.
Um, I don't know honestly if people really know when they are actually happy though. It's like, oh man, if I could have a margarita, I'd be happy. Oh look, I'm drinking a margarita. That must mean I'm happy, right?
Right.
Versus joy. The joy is appreciation and being grateful for the moment, for everything in the moment, the people, the place, the what you hear, what you see, what you're experiencing. And um it's less about like, don't get me wrong, because I am a competitor and I do want to win,
Right.
right? And I do want to do my best. But so much of it is um I would rather win performing at my best than break a bunch of records and win just looking like a big flop.
Hmm.
Like, just, I mean, that's just me. However, there is a part of me, as you saw, that I'm going to get up there and I'm going to squat, and those boys are going to take my bar away from me. Just so that you know, I'm still bitter about that. They took my barbell away from me. But, I am still so grateful for that opportunity. All those red lights, all those little things. But I was just so excited to be there. I was just so, you know, I had this coach, Michelle Giannino. Uh, her name's Michelle Lee now. because the new Olympic weightlifting coach married her, knocked her up so she couldn't be coach anymore. How rude, right? She told me after my first stroke that caused me to be blind, and that was the first time I ever competed blind. Um, but she told me that I needed to always live with joy. That because I was so used to being so good, um, that it was it was really hard to not be really good anymore. To just come off a um, international and um, world championships and those kind, that level, and
Mhm.
just get slammed down. It was very difficult. Didn't want to do it anymore. And she was like, "No, you don't get to go anywhere. You're gonna stay. You're gonna keep lifting, and you're gonna love it because that's why you've been doing it. You love it. You love the barbell. You love feeling strong, and you have an opportunity to feel like that. So go and do this." And I've always kept that with me, with my lifting, which is why it's been so important to me. Even after I left that part of the weightlifting and moved over to powerlifting, barbell's a barbell, weights are weight. And, the white lights and red lights don't care what's going on in your life.
Mhm.
You just need to do the thing. That's all you need to focus on. You don't need to think about anything else. You just need to focus on doing the thing. So, so that's what I did. So you're right. There is a distinction between happy and just joy. Joy is what I feel every moment of every day. It comes along with being grateful. Happy is the things that people want to be who are not. But I will say that I do not consider things to be easy or hard in the same way I do not consider things in life to be good or bad. For me, where I am and what I've learned, um, everything is just a thing. It's just a thing. If you want to get from point A to point B, there are things you have to do. Some things may require sacrifice. Some things may require, you to show up and build strength and do things that build strength. Um, and so the way you can tell if you really want to do something is by you choosing to do the things that you have to do to get to point B. And if you don't want to do those things, then I would reconsider whether you really want to get to point B or not. But that was a very hard lesson for me. So things aren't really easy or hard. They're just things. And with the cancer and the strokes, they suck. I'm not going to say that they don't because they suck. And they come with pain and they come with surgeries and all these other things. But so what? Um, I'm not the only one that has had to go through it. And anyone that has to go through it, they make their own personal decision. Personally, one thing about me, if you ask my mom, I do what I want. So I don't know how successful I'm going to be at any particular thing. But as you know, because we met while I was trying to do it, um, I'm not going to know unless I try it. And I got some big shiny bling bling things that say, I may not have been the best, but I was good enough. and that I met my goals for doing what I did and going through the things I needed to do to get there. So it wasn't easy, wasn't hard. I just did the things I needed to do.
Yeah, I this conversation is reminding me of the conversation we had while waiting for awards that day. Um,
Mhm.
and how much wisdom you gave me. Because I've been trying to give myself grace over the last month because I bet if you asked 90%, if not 100% of the people who were at that meet, if they, like even the ones who set world records, did they perform as good as they wanted to? And most of them are probably going to say no, because we are all our harshest critics. And, I've gotten back and people are like, how did you do? And I'm like, well, I won my weight class, got a total PR and a deadlift PR, and like got over the hump that I've been trying to on my deadlift for 2 years now. Like there are wins there. And then
Yep.
and they're like, that's amazing. And I'm just like, yeah, but I wanted this and I didn't get this.
Yep.
And then so it's been a month of me being like, I so I'm not happy about how I performed at Worlds, but I'm still joyful for the experience, for how well I did do, how I adapted to things. Like, can I judge myself all day long? Certainly. I've been doing it my entire life.
Yep. Yep.
Um, I think a huge part of growth as a person is being able to take the highs and the lows and accept and be grateful for the reality of things. Um, ooh, that reminds me of the thing I was going to ask earlier. Okay, so there's like this whole, I don't know if it's a movement, but I feel like there's more and more people pushing the idea of it is what it is. Which reminds me of the story you told about the gentleman, um, and how he was just like, it's
Yeah.
whatever, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Because, and there are some people who say that that is like just having that feeling of it is what it is, whatever I do doesn't matter, is like the key to, I'm not going to say happiness, but um acceptance. But I don't feel like that's really acceptance. I think that that is really avoidance.
I agree.
Um, because there are people like you and I who we accept the hard shit and we don't say that it's not hard shit. We're not like, oh, okay, well, it's whatever. Because it's not whatever. Like
Yep.
illness is not whatever. Trauma is not whatever. Like we should be allowed to recognize the things that we have been through and are currently going through and recognize that they suck
Yep.
and that that's not the only thing that exists.
Yes. Yes. I agree. 100%. But it goes back to, um, so you and I have talked about things that we share. I have a lot of different friends, from uh, different walks of life where I share different perspectives
Hmm.
than I do with other people. But it's one of these things where I think a lot of people who say whatever, um, like my husband, he has a personality where he just wants to solve something. He just wants the magic wand.
Mhm.
He goes. to my oncology doctor with me. And she says, this is what we're going to do. And then we're going to fold your stomach over and pin it under this thing. And then my husband says, well, she has this and this and this. So then that's it. Then she won't have any more cancer, right? And I'm like, honey, it's not really how cancer works, you know? But and then he'll turn to, well, whatever, whatever, whatever. Just make it go away. Just make it go away. And it won't go away. And he has to deal with the thing. That thing, he has to deal with. You and I know he needs to deal with that with either, I don't know, a friend who can at least he can talk about it, someone who's going through something similar with either a wife or someone that they know that has the similar health issue, or a therapist, right? Whatever means to me, um, it's like accepting defeat.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's just that whole perspective of it's never going to change. It is what it is. I'm just going to accept the misery that that situation is bringing to me and try not to make it worse. Um, I think 90% of people make that choice because it's accepting the devil
Hmm.
instead of facing the one that you don't. And what a lot of people, I think, don't accept is that there may not be a devil you don't know. It may be that you put a little work into it with other people who see things similarly, and then a problem gets solved. So you don't have to accept it like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but you have to talk. I think um, our society um, needs to learn how to discuss again.
Agreed.
Um, Coming back from Greece and understanding that they built, the Parthenon, so a bunch of people could come together and just discuss their thoughts. I mean, that's what human beings are supposed to be able to do. We're supposed to be able to go to coffee shops
Hmm.
and say, you know what, I had a thought about this. What do you think? And then I might say, oh, well, I disagree for these particular reasons, none of which are personal attacks on you. And I'm not going to take them as a personal attack because I respect you as a person and we're good friends, right? Um, I think more of that, speaking to each other kindly and understanding that our values, our thoughts, and our feelings come from our life experience. And I think that's where a lot of people get upset because if you're going to yell and scream at me about uh, the way I see life and problems that I feel really need some attention, and you're going to say I'm crazy, you're basically trying to negate things that have actually happened to me in my life that I know are real. You
Hmm.
know, they're real. Touch, feel, real. Um, which is why I'm not going to listen to you, right? Because all you're doing is shutting me down. Um, but to understand that other people have different experiences, um, and listening to them gives us all the information, which is what you need to make good decisions. You need all the information.
Right.
You can say, you know what, oh my God, really? You had that experience? Not question it. Just say, oh my gosh, yeah, I probably would think differently if I had that experience. Ta-da! Look at that conversation.
Yeah. I think that's I was in a sorority in college and we had etiquette rules where on the main floor you didn't talk, you didn't talk about religion, you didn't talk about politics, you didn't like all of the things that people should talk about. Like that's the only way that any of it moves forward is if you have those discussions. There's a gentleman who swims at my gym and we always have fantastic conversations. We never agree with one another, but we have fantastic conversations
That's the
because
best.
and I mean as much as I love talking to people who are like-minded, I my brain so much more enjoys talking to people who have opposing views who are willing to have discussions because that's when my brain gets to grow and be like, "Oh my God, new information." Because everybody does. Literally every single person on this planet has a different lived experience.
100%.
So my goal is to talk to all of them.
Yes. So I have so many personalities. They can all talk to different people.
Okay, so we are going to move into our little game.
Okay.
So it's going to get a little slightly more random. I'm gonna let you answer first and then I'll answer second.
Okay.
So question one, have you ever had a psychic reading? Did you believe it and was it accurate?
Uh, yes, no, and yes.
Okay. Want to,
Yes, I've had a psychic reading. No, I totally didn't believe it. And yes, it totally was true.
could I get like, what's the story behind it?
I was seeing this guy who was a logger, and because he was really hot and he could spit through a straw. I don't know why that was so cool. He wasn't that smart though. We went to some fair in downtown Seattle, and he was like, "Oh, let's do a psychic reading." And then she was like, "Oh, yeah, your whole situation with him is just temporary," which, duh. And then she said, I was going to get married in 1994 to someone I didn't know. And I was like, what does that even mean? However, in 1994, I used to work for a bail bondsman, went to this Korean bar all dressed up, well, looking for this guy, ran into my husband. And that was on a Friday evening. Got to talking. I had a cell phone, gave him my number. When I left, because I had never given my number out to anyone in a bar before, turned my phone off all weekend long. Monday morning, because it's a weekday, right? I turn my phone on. He calls me and he says, "Hey, I've been trying to call. I haven't gotten through to you." I'm like, "Oh, sorry." He says, "Well, uh, I'm deploying tomorrow morning. Do you want to have dinner tonight?" And I said, "Well, okay, sure." So I show up. Oh, also, he couldn't come and pick me up at my place. So I told him I would meet him at the restaurant. Halfway to the restaurant, I realized he doesn't know what I look like. Because when I went to the bar, because I was working for a bondsman, I had like a wig on and everything. So I had to run home, put all that stuff back on, went to the restaurant. Um, We talked. Next day, he takes off. And then he calls me from a payphone because we're old. While he's gone, he flies back. And oh no, it was May. She said we were getting married in May. We got married May 7th, 2024, to this guy who just like I went on our first date. He left town. He came back. Um, 1 month later, we got married in May. So in '94, which is what she said.
That okay. Okay. Do you believe it now?
Um, yeah, because it happened.
Okay. Just
I mean, that's a hell of a coincidence. But
that's
also, I do that shit to people. I do it to people all the time.
um so for me, I wouldn't say I've never had like a full-on psychic reading. I've done tarot. Um and I well so I say I did believe it in the sense that I always look at those things and like astrology is a way for you to find like awareness in your own life. Um but my favorite one was my friend Sophie always does my tarot readings for me. And I was going through a very rough time in my life. So I was even more guarded than I normally would be. And so she draws three swords, and all of the swords basically mean like your guard is up. And she's like, okay, let me clarify these a little bit more. She draws three more swords, and she's like, okay, one more time. And then she drew two more swords so that it wasn't an entire deck of swords, but she drew almost so in at like with she laid out 12 cards and only one of them was not swords. And she was like, maybe you should work on being less guarded. And I was like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. And she was like, well, okay. It's like, the cards are accurate. The cards are saying nobody's getting in. That's the end. The end. That's,
Yes,
um, so yeah, I'm not that guarded anymore because I've like done some healing work and all sorts of stuff. But I thought it was really funny. Um, and I enjoy telling that story because what are the chances that of all of the cards you draw, they're all swords? Like and like she would mix them every time, just like, okay, whoosh, let's mix them up some more, and then draw at random. And it's like, I don't,
have you ever read that book, The Alchemist?
yes, it's one of my favorites.
Right? Okay, I just had to ask you. That is like my favorite. I listened to it. I have it on Audible.
Hmm.
With Jeremy Irons reads it. I listen to him in the evening sometimes when I can't sleep. I love the book. I just that whole, you know, your personal legend.
Hmm.
You got to go after and the universe sends you, he communicates with you, wants to help you achieve your personal legend. I believe that. I really do.
I feel like I have to, my next book is Wicked. I'm in the middle of a book right now, and then I have to read Wicked because I went to go see Wicked today, and I haven't actually read it. I've had it since high school. So before the second part comes out, I have to,
Books way better.
oh, always,
Oh, yeah,
100%.
I was going to say. Yeah.
Um,
But also the theatrical version, so good.
right. I mean, it's an enjoyable show.
Yes.
Um, okay. Next question. How might this age-old proverb be applied to your life? Measure twice, cut once.
What? Okay.
I'll be honest, I didn't know this was a proverb. I always just assumed this was something that we said in engineering
Shop class.
because it makes sense to measure twice and cut once. Did not know it was a proverb.
Um, uh, yeah, like think about it before you actually do it.
Yeah.
Clearly, it doesn't mean crap in my life. My husband, the one that the lady said I was going to marry some guy I don't know, first date, he leaves town. Second date was 2 months later because I flew over for a weekend to see him. That's when we decided to get married. A couple months later, he comes back into town and I married him. Not a whole lot of thinking there. My my doctors told me that I probably never get to lift heavy again after my surgeries in December and January. First thing I did was find out when the first powerlifting comp was going to be, and I signed up for it.
Is it the one in Tucson in February?
It was the one in Tucson. It was in July.
Oh,
Yeah. So I did that one. But then that was a non tested one, and I didn't realize. So then I signed up for the first tested one that was in September. But then if I'm going to die, I'm going to go to Greece.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, what am I going to save up for? Like, I'm going to go to Greece. So I went to Greece. And then Las Vegas didn't seem like it was very far at all. Um, from a physical body perspective, I may have wanted to think about that twice before, but I'm still alive, so winning. I mean, okay, so I'm really anal with numbers.
Hmm.
So the cut or the measure twice, I measure actually several times when I build things.
Hmm.
My husband once, and he doesn't even measure it. He just kind of eyeballs it, and then stuff doesn't fit exactly right. Drives me nuts. Drives me nuts. But my life in general, I probably should think of things, you know, but I will say that my life is a ball, whether it turns out or it doesn't. Cause, and I accept it. That's the big thing
Hmm.
is accepting the good and the bad of the decisions that you make in life and being grateful for the opportunity because stories sound good and they feel good, just as good, saying things like, oh my God, and then I won a world championship, as it does saying, oh my God, I was such a dumbass and I went to the world championships. And then these people they literally stole the barbell right off my back. You know, it's still a great story.
Still a great story.
Yeah.
Um, so I have a, a couple of things with this one. So like I, as you know, I have ADHD. Um, and so I'm sure that comes into play in here somewhere. Um, but one of the things I tell people all the time is that every spontaneous thing I've ever done has been meticulously planned out beforehand. So like I just have a file of spontaneous things so that when the moment arises, I can be like, boom, play that card. Other people think I'm spontaneous, but to me, I'm just like, I've been plotting this since I was 6. Like it just, I don't know. So before we got on today, I texted my boyfriend and I was like, hey, I'm recording my first podcast since March. And he was like, well, thanks for telling me, but like, w when were you going to tell me this? I was like, so here's the thing is like a couple days ago, I was like, well, hey, I have I have a little bit of spare time this weekend. You know who I bet would fit me into her schedule? Leanda. And then if I'm going to start doing this again, like I have to build momentum. If I just sit and plan the whole time, I'm never going to do it, which I can get stuck in planning forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like in order for me to move, I sort of have to like push myself in front of the bus. I just have to be like, okay, we're jumping, we're going. When like I feel like every big decision that I've made, Greece was the same thing. I qualified for Greece and I was like, boom, I can get a plane ticket, done, done. I was like, okay, now I have to figure out training for Greece and who's coming with me and what are we doing and which I planned 3 days before going to Greece. I was like, all right, so like what do we want to see? Like I have a room, I have the plane tickets. That's what I got. Like, I don't know. Like, so much lack of planning that I was like, okay, how do I get like my currency exchanged beforehand? And they were like, oh yeah, all the banks, you have to do that 2 weeks in advance. And I'm like, I'm supposed to plan 2 weeks in advance? Like, this is so that I just did everything on a credit card because then I tried to exchange money at the airport and they wanted to give me like half of the exchange rate. And I was like, absolutely not. I would rather starve all week long than trade my money for that. No, thank you. So I also could use some better planning, some more measuring and less cutting, but I feel like there's a time for measuring and there's a time for cutting. And at some point you just have to jump because how else are you going to learn?
Yeah. No, 100%. Because because of because of my age and how many times I've done this, I already know. For example, I qualify, I check the air fares, but I know if you want money of the place, you use the ATM,
Oh.
right? But you don't take out so much money that you're gonna have a bunch of cash left. And you still use your like you can still use your credit card and stuff, but you have cash for like the mom and pop place.
Hmm.
So my husband, on the other hand, he's like, "Whoa, we have to go here, then we have to go here, and then there's these exchange places at the airport." And I'm telling him, "No, you can't go there. They're going to take half your money." It's like, "No, that's what they're there for." And we stopped in London, and he wanted to get euro, and he was like, um, "Well, these people are saying we have to change US dollars to London pounds and then London pounds into euros." And I'm like, "So why don't you just wait till we get to Greece and use the ATM?" And he's like, "No, no, because we should have cash when we get there." I'm like, "When you get there, there'll be an ATM. You could just get the money just do right there." But no, he lost half his frickin' money because he decided to do it his way. And then we got there and he stood in line because he wanted to exchange more US dollars or just euros because they had their own exchange place. And I was like, "Oh my God, they're going to charge you like 20%. Just go to the ATM." So I went to the ATM and they didn't charge me anything. I was like, "I just wanted my euros." Money. So there's certain things that I already know, but back in the day, like I have back there. That is on my whiteboard. That's my competition packing list. So I know
Did you put deadlift shoes on there?
I did not because I wasn't a power lifter when I started this. So I remembered my lifters. That's why I always have those. And then when I went to Vegas, I was dumb and wore my slides
Hmm.
onto the airplane because they were easy on, and realized that the reason that I had my other shoes there was because those were my deadlift shoes.
Hmm.
But I travel by myself and I'm a little nuts. So, you know,
Okay. Third question from the game. What is one thing you wish you could change about yourself?
like now,
Whatever.
I would like to be more awesome than I already am.
That's not even possible.
I know, right? um, there's like so many things that I wish could have happened differently in my life. However, uh, the lessons that I've learned to get to where I am today,
Hmm.
to the person that I am, to the way I see life, uh, I think all the things had to happen the way they did. I think I really had to have gone through even the things I'm going through right now. That kind of test my resolve. I mean, I'm not always in a good mood. Um, but the fact is, most of the time, I mean, I have PTSD, pretty severely. In addition to, um, you know, being autistic and ADHD, just bipolar, all the things. Um, but even the challenges that come along with that, when it's just me, when I can get myself uh, cognitively to nothing, or I can clear my head. When I look around me, what I see is a pretty amazing life. And that is not to say that there are not problems that need to be solved, that are not, things that need to be improved. But for the most part, the fact, you said every single human on the planet has lived a different experience. That's a different story. I am all about the different stories. I want to hear it. I want to experience those things that I wouldn't otherwise experience. It's such an opportunity to experience life in that way. And I'm just so grateful uh, for the people who are willing to share that with me. And I'm so grateful to expand upon my story. But, you know, if taxes go up to 90%, I'm still going to feel that way. If I go bankrupt, I'm still going to feel that way. And I'm still going to want to meet you. And I'm still going to want to know your story. And I'm still going to be grateful for you giving me the opportunity to hear it. Uh, so I don't think there's really anything about me that I would want to change, and even the parts where you know other people might not like, and those times when I'm kind of bitchy or I'm scared or I panic or whatever. Um, I think I think that makes me a real person,
I
and so I'd rather be a real person who chooses to love everybody, you know, and appreciate everybody and appreciate life. So I don't know, maybe that's a conceited answer, but I'm not saying that because I think I'm so great. I'm just saying that, I'm a pretty great person.
You are. Um, Quite honestly, my answer, I'm just gonna piggyback off of yours. Same,
Um,
please. Uh, then I'm gonna go with a really shallow one. If there's anything I could change, it would be my hair color. Uh, because I always wanted to be a redhead, so I've dyed my hair for the last few years with henna, and now I've decided that I don't like the upkeep. And so now I have to wait for the red to grow out so I can be blonde again. And I'm impatient. So if I could change anything, it would be that the red would be back to blonde and I wouldn't have to go through the process of growing my hair out and then chopping it off and whatever. Um, because I'm impatient. And that's the only thing. All of the deep spiritual things about me I would not change because like you said, there are things in my life that have not been great, but had I not experienced them, I would not be who I am today, and I fucking love who I am today. So,
you're a pretty amazing person. You're a good person.
thank you.
I could say like I literally like to lose weight, right? But the fact that I'm, not a size two, the fact that I have gained weight through my um through lifting as well as some of my illnesses,
Hmm.
um, keeps a girl humble. I'll tell you, right? And also I've learned like who cares? Who cares? I went to Greece as a power lifter for the United States of America. You think I care if you know, you're not attracted to my ass in a bikini? I don't.
Oh, that makes me think of something you said earlier. Like, because I think, like, would I love a six pack? Because
Yeah,
we all think that if we had the perfect body, we would think we have the perfect body, though I've found with body dysmorphia, the closer you get to perfect, the more.
yeah, no,
But it's one of those things I always think of, like when you said, do like you know what you really want because
yeah,
you're
hobby.
willing to do the things to do there. Do I really want a six pack? No, because I'm not
No,
willing to do, I am not willing to diet down the way I would need to get a six pack. I'm just not. Like, no.
no, I don't care.
No.
Like I look and I might be like, oh shit, I would look so fabulous like that. But guess what? I don't care.
Yeah,
What I care about is lifting more weight. That's why I train.
exactly.
And if I cared about that, I would train differently. But I don't.
Okay. So, my final question for you
Okay.
is if there is one thing that the people of the world need to hear, what is it?
God loves you. I love you. And you should love everybody else. Don't be a dick because Jesus said so. It's in the Bible.
Word for word.
It is. It's translated from Greek. That's where
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
we had this talk. We've
We
had this talk. If you think you're so freaking perfect, throw the rock at the whore. But you're not, are you? So keep your rocks at home.
Yes, 100%. Well, Leanda, thank you for joining me on this episode of the Common Humanity podcast and having a real human conversation with me. It is much appreciated.